Hello and welcome. I am Matt Rotty, and this is the Greater Prescott podcast where we talk about, you guessed it, all things Greater Prescott. Today, I'm going to talk about me. I need to make a video for my About Me page on the website, so let's dive right in. I was born January 16th, 1983 in Tucson, Arizona. Grew up with one younger sister, and both my folks were married, middle class family. My parents, and this is very important, my parents met at the drag strip. Big time into cars. I've been that way since for as long as I can remember, and a lot of my childhood was spent going to the circle track, where before it had been paved, it was a dirt track, then it was paved, and my dad by trade was a fabricator, specifically in the racing industry. And so growing up, we had a garage behind our house that was 2,000 square feet, and the house we lived in was 1,500 square feet. So my dad had a massive, massive garage where I spent a lot of time. And for many years of my life, he worked out there full time. My mom was an secretary. She's really, really good at office work, and so that's what she did. And like I said, one younger sister. Tucson, Arizona, pretty warm, pretty dry climate. I spent almost all my entire childhood outside. I think I spent all my childhood outside. I rode my bike. I played soccer. I was on swim team. I was really, really active. School wasn't necessarily my thing, but man, you throw me a ball, pretty much of any sort, I just loved it, loved it, loved it. And I can remember in the winter in Tucson, hard to call that a winter, but I'd wear shorts, maybe a sweatshirt, and just funny how now that I live up here in Prescott, I feel like not a whole lot's changed because in the winter, I mean, it definitely gets cold, don't get me wrong. But around the house, I still find myself in shorts all the time, and uh, I do. I love Southern Arizona in general. When I was growing up, I was at one point on three soccer teams. Mom and dad, bless your heart. I don't know how you made it happen, but I came home after freshman year of high school tryouts, and I probably would have made varsity because soccer was my sport. But I came home and I said, Mom and Dad, I am done. I'm done. I'm burned out. And I was. And my mom and dad looked at me and said, No, you're not. No, you can't just quit. I never played another soccer game in my life. That was it, actually. I didn't even go back to tryouts the next day. Interestingly enough, 3 or 6 months before then, two of my friends took me out golfing. No one in my family played golf. No one in my family watched golf. I didn't hardly even know what it was. But that would have been 1997, 96, and guess who had just come on tour? The myth, the man, the legend, Tiger Woods. And for whatever reason, I was hooked on golf, and at the same time, I started watching golf all the time. And so similar to how I played soccer, I simply put soccer behind me and picked up golf, and that's what I did in high school. And that's pretty much what I did in high school. Again, school wasn't my thing, but man, golf was awesome. So 4 years playing high school golf, amazing sport. It's funny, since I've lived up here in Prescott 2.5 years now, I have played once. I'm married. I have 4 kids. I don't have time to play golf. So I tell people I'm semi-retired. I'd love the opportunity to play more when I have more time. We'll see. I still love the sport. That experience playing golf led me right into what I went to college for. I went to Arizona State University, and my degree is in agribusiness with an emphasis in golf facility management. I enjoyed being outside. Like I shared, I spent most of my childhood outside. And when it was time for well, actually in high school, I had a little landscaping business. It was great. My first vehicle was a pickup truck. My dad was a jack of all trades, so we had all the tools. I worked around the house. He taught me well, and so I started a little landscaping gig, mostly Saturdays, but almost every Saturday in high school I was out working, and that just naturally led to, hey, why don't I just work on golf courses, because I love playing it and I might as well do this for a living. So moved from Tucson to Phoenix. That would have been 2001. I graduated 2005. In the midst of all of that, I worked on 3 or 4 golf courses during college because I did a couple internships. I got to go back to New Jersey for one. I went to San Diego for another. I worked at a couple in the Phoenix area. Yeah, 4. And then getting my first job out of college was at Raven Golf Club, South Mountain. That was golf course number 5. So I have worked on a lot of golf courses. I have played a lot of golf. Something I didn't mention, I grew up going to church. We went to El Camino Baptist Church on the east side of Tucson. Growing up, I never took the Bible seriously. It was something I didn't do. My mother did, my sister did, but I sure didn't. And when it was time for college and I moved 2 hours away, I started partying. I said, hey, this is my life. I get to do whatever I want to do. So I joke around with people that I have a degree in agribusiness from ASU, but I also have a degree in partying because that's what I spent a lot of time doing. My senior year of college, 3 things happened. Number 1, more than 3 things happened, but alcohol and marijuana just wasn't doing what it used to. It wasn't masking the pain. It did for a while, but it wasn't any longer. And I knew enough from going to church that the Bible was the truth. And I know that if I were to have died at that point, then I would have gone to hell. And so it was my senior year in college, October 26, 2004, I gave my life to Christ. And man, since then, life has been much, much different than it was previously. I got hooked up with some old good friends in the Phoenix area, found a great church, got involved. I never went to rehab. Praise the Lord. I didn't need it. That's kind of naive to say, but I didn't go. I sobered up, and I have been sober ever since, which is fantastic. And that's just a big part of my life to this day. Very involved in church and raising my kids with the truth of the Bible. When I graduated college, Raven Golf Course was where I worked. I worked there, a year. And then I got hired on at a commercial landscaping company because I had my spray license. And so I made a bit more money and the schedule was way better. So I put in 5 years at HMS Landscapes. Then in that period of time, I had this realization, I cannot do this. I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. It's really hot in Phoenix and I was outside all the time. And based on my time spent going to Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, after a couple years, I thought I would love to help people because I had also received some really, really good counseling post-college, and it was very helpful. So I decided to go back to school. I attended Walden University. I have a master's in psychology, and this is really important for the podcast as I will bring it back to some of these things. So after getting my master's, I decided, why not? Let's just keep going. So I continued in their PhD program for clinical psychology. And fast forward 3-4 years, my family and I had moved to Chicago, Illinois, where I was on internship in Kane County. Just like Yavapai County, but it was called Kane County outside of Chicago. And I was 6 months into that internship process when my desire to continue in the PhD program came to an abrupt end because my dissertation just was not progressing, and basically the school dropped me out really without any warning. And but I am not blaming them because I'm really glad that happened. It was not for me. After getting in that internship, it was a quick realization. Wow, this is not where my skill set is. And I don't know if I would have ever been able to get out of or get through that program, but nonetheless, I was out. My family and I moved back, and so now we are back in the Phoenix area. I had just gone through a bunch of school with not a master's degree to show for it, but I wasn't certified in anything. And so let me also back up. Just a couple years after college, I was attending church in Tempe, Praxis, and that's where I met Emily. Emily is my wife of 10 years. We were married July 3rd, 2010. I hope I get that right. And we now have 4 children: Wyatt, Lizzie, Autumn, Zach. Right now, their ages 8, 6, 4, and 3. And it is awesome. And like I said, that's why I don't have time for golf, because I'm married and I have a family. And I also have a podcast and I'm trying to start other businesses. You kind of get the picture. But love my family. It would have been 4 to 6 years ago. Oh, well, when I got married to Emily, her parents had a cabin up here in Prescott where they would summer. And so I started coming up to Prescott, really having never spent any time here. And I started thinking, man, I really, really like this place. I would love to live here. And it took a number of years for the Lord to open up doors, but in the summer of 2018, we moved up here, and it's been awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. In the meantime, I have spent time doing real estate. I have done a lot of years of behavioral health, as that's where my psychology background, I fit right in. It's a great fit for employment. I have worked at Arizona Hot Tub Company, and I currently work at Guardian Landscape and Pinion Painting, and I also do this podcast. So let's back up just a little bit. I am fascinated with how God makes people. And so the podcast originates from that. Everyone has a story, and it's always unique to them. Yet we can all listen to people's stories and pick out pieces and say, man, I resonate with that. I went through the same thing. And I decided, you know what? I want to start this podcast and just talk to people in a long format type of setting. And so I found early on in my real estate business, when I was doing really short videos where it's like, hey, tell me all about your company in 15 seconds, hurry up. It just, the type of information that I wanted to come out didn't. And so that's when I transitioned to doing the podcast. And on the pod, my desire is to share the stories of the people, places, and things in Greater Prescott, so more people can get to know more people, places, and things. And so that's my desire. My desire is that when people sit across from me, we have a casual conversation about who they are, where they grew up, what they do when they were a kid, and we start connecting the dots along the way of their life that generally lead to obviously who they are now and what they are doing. And so similar to how you can listen to this and get a sense of, okay, Matt did this and this and this and this and this, and then it just kind of naturally led to the podcast. That is my idea when I have guests on the show. I am not so much concerned with what business they have. And it's not that I interview all business owners, but up to this point, it's been a majority. I'm not so much concerned with what they do in their business. For example, a coffee shop sells coffee, right? But where I am fascinated is what makes the owner as a person different than the owner of another coffee shop, so that you, as the viewer or listener, can connect or not connect with people. And I think that's really important. We lack connection these days, and social media has made it challenging. The world has made it challenging, and it is my goal to get people on to the podcast and for me to help draw their story out so that people like you and me can connect with them. And so that's what I love. I love sitting here talking with people and connecting the dots. And my goal is that others will also hear the podcast and watch the podcast and get to know the people and the businesses in our area more and more and more. And so this is not meant to be a sales platform. Obviously, if the coffee shop owner comes on the podcast, we're going to talk about the coffee shop. But as you follow along, we spend the minority of our time on their business, because I'm more interested in what got them to the coffee shop. I'm more interested in what are the little things that they do in their coffee shop on the business side of things that make them better, on the customer service side of things that make them better, and things like that. So that is why I started Greater Prescott Podcast. I am 45-ish episodes into it, and I am loving it. I've had a great response from my guests. I mean, they get to come on and share some about their business, but more importantly, we kind of peel back the onion and they get a little vulnerable, and people actually get to know who these people are, not just the fact that they take photographs or they own a bar or whatever it is that they do. But you get to connect with the person or the people who are on the other side of the table. So thank you very much for putting in your time to listen. I hope that you do find it valuable. At the end of the day, my goal is to bring value to people, to give people something worth listening to and watching. And at the very least going, hey, I didn't know about that person. I think I'm going to check them out. Or same thing about it, I didn't know about that business. I am going to check that out. So I appreciate your time today. I appreciate everyone's support. Everyone has been really, really supportive, as this is something that I really enjoy and I spend a lot of time on. So I'm excited when people get value from it. So to wrap this up, I appreciate your time, as I tell all of my guests. I genuinely appreciate your time. That is one thing we don't get back in life. So do your best with your time. Make your best. Do your best. And continue to listen. I've got a lot more people lined up. And at the end of the day, I hope that you enjoy and that we all get to learn more about the awesome people in the Greater Prescott area. That's it. That's my story. If you have any questions, shoot me a message. There's a contact form on the website, greaterprescottpodcast.com/contact. Send me questions. Let me know. Let me know if you have any suggestions about the podcast as well moving forward. I would like to get more retired people on here, because as I have found, our area not only has a lot of retired people, but their stories are amazing. Absolutely amazing. And they're living here in Prescott. So it's pretty cool. So let's wrap it up. You guys, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.